على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Our distinguished speaker, Professor Dato Sri Dr. Syed Arabi Idid, Professor Dato Sri Dr. Syed Arabi أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Our distinguished speaker, Professor Dato Sri Dr. Syed Arabi Idid, Professor Dato. I think I have to, that was the live stream that happened just now. Okay. Right. Our distinguished speaker, Professor Dato Sri Dr. Syed Arabi Syed Abdullah Idid, members of the University Management Committee. I think we have Tan Sri, Emeritus Professor Tan Sri Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Director of the International Islamic University Malaysia. Associate Professor Dr. Liana Borhan, Director of the Office of Knowledge for Change and Advancement, Organizer for SAF Murabbi Talk Series. Deans and Directors, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the IIUM SAF Murabbi Talk Series featuring Professor Dato Sri Dr. Syed Arabi Syed Abdullah Idid, with the topic My Research Activities and How I Manage Research at UKM and the IIUM. The SAF Murabbi in Action Talk Series is a platform for all IIM communities to share their effort and experience in implementing Sejahtera Academic Framework, SAF. I'm Associate Professor Dr. Aida Mokhtar from Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, MC and moderator for today. Let us begin with the recitation of Kitab Al-Fatiha. Amin Ya Rabbil Alameen. To all participants, please record your attendance. The link is available in the chat room in Zoom and the IIUM official YouTube channel. Before that, it is my pleasure to have the Honorable Rector, Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dato Zulkifli Abdul Razak to give his welcoming remark.
Thank you very much, Aida. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wassalatu wassalam syafil anbiya mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Yang dimuliakan Profesor Datuk Sri Syed Arabi Idid. Brothers and sisters, it looks as though that each time this Murabbi talk that I have to give some welcoming address, but I don't think this needs to be a ritual, but nevertheless, I'm indeed very happy and very delighted to welcome Dato Sri as a speaker. I think after a long time listening to many people, certainly Dato Sri's perspective is very, very welcome at this juncture of the 40th anniversary of the university. Many things I think that we are looking forward to learn from him, and how else we can work together to make the university a distinctive university moving forward, Dato Sri, for the next 40 years. So I am very delighted that Dato Sri has agreed, and also very grateful that the organizers are consistently istiqamah in trying to make this series a very meaningful series that eventually I am told that we're going to document it into a kind of a book, said that it could be a reference for all of the staff, particularly the younger generation, to move ahead. So I hope we can pay particular attention to this activity, and certainly this time around to listen to Dato Sri and raise as many issues as possible. Dato Sri, I'm sure you are not you are not against this. We want to learn as much as possible, particularly now when there's so many things that's happening. Perhaps we need to relate it back to what the university is all about 40 years ago, and how relevant are the issues at hand, how else we can make amends to make a stay within the raison d'etre of this university. So that on that note, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving this opportunity, and let's make dua that we are in the path of the blessed ilahi all along, so that we can fulfill the amanah that we've all embraced to make it happen. So wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Aida.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Now let's listen to the recording let's watch the pre-recorded interview session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome Prof. Dato Sri Dr. Syed Arabi Idid to the Murabbi series program. I am Associate Professor Dr. Aida Mokhtar, who will be hosting the program today. Professor Dato Sri Dr. Syed Arabi was formerly with University Kebangsaan Malaysia, UKM, for 22 years before he joined the IIUM in 1999. He was a Dean of IIUM's Research Management Centre, or RMC, in 2001. And Prof. Syed was the IIUM Rector from 2006 to 2011. He is currently a professor in the Department of Communication, Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences of the IIUM. Would you like to add to this brief biography that I've given?
Oh, this is very comprehensive. I just want to add one item, I think. I was a reporter with Bernama from 1968 to 1971 when I joined UKM.
Right. So you've had a colorful career, yeah? Right. So my first question is, how did you begin your research activities in UKM?
Okay, my interest was, I think, drawn from my experience as a graduate student in the University of Wisconsin, Madison. So when UKM sent me to do my master's, I was there, and then I was told that I would be transferred from being the penolong pendaftar to be the head of Department of Communication, Jabatan Perhubungan UKM. From there, I quickly observed the running of a department. Yeah? And I found that University of Wisconsin, at least my department, was very focused on research. Yeah? We had Jack McLeod, we have Steve Chaffee. These are well-known researchers in communication. So I got the idea that if I were to go back to UKM, I think I would like to be as good as Jack McLeod and Steve Chaffee. When I returned to UKM, I was transferred from administration to the department. My first meeting was very clear to my staff. I then had Haji Mansur Ahmad, Fariza Jaafar, Mio Zailan. My first meeting, I said, by next meeting, all of us must have one research project. Among other things, we will discuss about curriculum, but by next meeting, we will have every one of us will have one research project. So that was my first research project, was in public relations. In 1977, I started that. Haji Mansur was on international communication. Fariza Jaafar went to do the Orang Asli Imah Mameri Pelakari now. And Mir Zalan did on film. So everybody had one research project. Yeah, that was at UKM. Then when I was appointed the pendaftar, we quickly worked on the idea that if you want to be promoted, you better have some points for research and publications. Yeah. And if you're a pendaftar and you are making that point, you have to impose that on yourself. Yeah, you have to impose on yourself. So quickly, I already made up my mind that if I want to be an academician, continue to be a academician, I must be involved in research. I must do publications. Yeah, I must also teach and also supervise. So my interest in research in UKM were based on those factors.
And what about the IIUM? You continued doing all of this?
Yeah, I continued what I had done in UKM. I continued in IIM, but I think I was more rigorous. But when I came to IIM and I was made Dean of Research, RMC, then again I began to realize more the importance of research. Yeah. I could see a big difference between IIUM and UKM, a big difference. Yeah. And when I became rector, again, I was very committed to the idea that IIUM should move from a teaching-based university to a research-based university.
And you had research areas that you were interested in, and they continued till now, isn't it, right? What were they?
Okay, I was very fortunate. I emphasized, or I had the opportunities or the funding to continue on research that allowed me to do what our term as longitudinal. Yeah. So when I started the research on public relations profile in 1977, I did not realize that I would continue with that research when I came to IIUM. Yeah. Or even that when I came back with PhD in UKM. So I had public relations profile in 1976, and I continued to 1999, 2003, 2011, 2018, and we are going to another one in 2023. So it's a longitudinal study based on one area, yeah, to understand the public relations practices, a profile of the practitioner. This is something that I think very few, I would say, would commit themselves to such a longitudinal study in public relations. There's one area. Another area which I also did was what you call as news diffusion. Yeah. So that started off in 1976. Upon the death of Tun Abdul Razak. Yeah. I was there, and then we were doing a semester assignment. It so happened that Tun Razak passed away. So I took the opportunity to do news diffusion among the students. That was 1976. I came back and continued with that. So I did on the death of Agong, the declaration of UMNO, making it was not legal, and so many other things. All in, I did about 9 studies on news diffusion. The last one was on MH370 and MH17, way back in 2009, I think. Yeah. So you can see I've done 9 studies on this topic, news diffusion. Another one which is quite close to me was a study on public opinion. Public opinion. We started off is in 1986, and my first report is this, until this year, 2022. So how many years we have done on this public opinion study on, we can call it political communication, or electoral studies or not. But basically, we were doing that. And I must give credit. I must give credit to the person who more or less gave us the challenge. He came to see us when I was at UKM. He said, "You're all masters, and why don't you all be like Gallup polls? Yeah? Why do a public opinion?" That was Osman Syed. Osman Syed is the father of Azalin Osman. the President Minister. Yeah? So he was the man. We kept saying, I challenge you to do it. Why can't you do it? I told him, Osman, we can do it, but we need money. So next few weeks, he came with a bundle of money. He said, yeah, there's a bunch of money. We start doing it. So within 1.5 months, we did a study. And it was time enough. It was very accurate. We predicted BN would win by so many seats, and BN really won. No seats. And our studies have been so far has been quite accurate. Even up to 2022, we predicted that UMNO would be facing problems. There will be a hung parliament. I think we got it.
So the idea of conducting useful research, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is very important.
Very, very important. I would advocate, I would even encourage our academics to choose an area of research that are of interest to you. You know, of interest to you. You can link up with others also, you know, but get a topic that is of interest to you.
Right.
My interest happens to be diversified in public relations, in news diffusion, in public opinion, electoral studies. Electoral studies because I was with Bernama. Bernama, 1969, I followed, there was election in 1969. I followed Tunku Abdul Rahman for 3 weeks in his campaigns. So I appreciated the campaigns then. Yeah? So that, I think, at the back of my mind was why I conducted public opinion research. I was taken in by the campaigns, by Tunku, yeah, how he talked, and opposition leaders and whatnot. So that carried me and my team. So when we did public opinion research, we also observed the elections, the by-elections and whatnot. Yeah. So if I can say another one, which I think would be of interest, is you need help from the others. And I think I was very happy to get Suhaimi, who's been following me from 1986, I think. You know, filming and doing the videos until today. Yeah.
Right. So, what about the methodology, Prof? What did you use in UKM and then continue using in the IIUM?
Okay, your methodology is a means of getting data, yeah, getting information. It must coincide, or it must be appropriate with your theoretical perspective. Right. Yeah. My first methodology that I was introduced to was content analysis. Right. That was I was doing for my master's, content analysis of development studies. So I did a content analysis using BUT score or prominence score. Yeah? So when I came back, when we were doing this study on public opinion, I realized that we can also incorporate agenda setting. Besides doing the public opinion studies, we could also incorporate our theoretical perspectives. Right. And I incorporated agenda setting. So when I did agenda setting for few surveys, we need two methodologies. We need survey, and we also need content analysis. Right. Yeah. So I developed further the content analysis, and I also began to learn and deepen my knowledge in surveys and in public opinion. Right. So I had two methodologies until towards the later part of my career in UKM, and also it enhanced my knowledge when I came to IIUM. was doing focus group,
Okay.
focus group,
Which is qualitative.
which is qualitative, and also personal interviews,
Okay.
you know. And I realized that way back in 2015, when we were doing these public opinion studies in Sarawak, we had 4 surveys done. We incorporated that. We had focus group interviews and personal interviews. You know? So I think you're aware that this is, you can call it a mixed method. Huh? So we enhanced them. We could also call it the multiple method, because we were asking different questions, different areas when we did focus group, and also when we did surveys. Yeah? But overall, it enhanced our understanding about the political process in Sarawak. Yeah? And when we incorporated those 3 types of approaches in our studies, general elections throughout the country, using the 3 approaches, we had a better understanding. You know, better understanding. Not only we do survey to understand public opinion by using survey, we also did focus group to understand the various sub-sectors of the voters. What were they thinking about the election? What issues were important to them? And we went further as personalities. We asked them, what were the issues that you were most concerned about, your parties were concerned about? So they gave us another idea. It deepened our knowledge about the electoral process. Yeah. So you can ask me the 3 methods. I would say both quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method.
So I know that you enjoy doing interviews a lot.
Yeah,
Right.
you can.
And you've interviewed many people, isn't it? Yeah. And you mentioned here that other than those, you've also carried out research methods that were not well known by recording videos, isn't it? And collecting information from sources like Tun Dr. Mahathir, Tun Abdul Taib Mahmud, Tengku Razali, and so forth. So how did they helped provide a deeper understanding to what you were researching on?
Okay. Yes, and further to the yes. This recording came when we were doing the Ampang by-election. Ampang by-election, 1989, I think. So I brought this Suhaimi along, and he was filming. So we got the idea, we had the video camera, and I had Suhaimi, I had Abu Hassan. So when we were doing the survey research, why don't they start recording, you know, interviewing the voters, interviewing the candidates. So we had our findings on 2 platforms. One, the survey results. The other thing was the recording that we had. So when we did elections, state elections and by-elections and general election, we not only had findings from the survey, but we also had findings recorded on TV. And this is something that I think nobody has done. Yeah. So we had, I think, hundreds of videos, hundreds of videos, and we kept them in the library of UKM. And I think I digitized them and put them in the archive. So there is one part of my interest. The other part of my interest is, I say, as an academician and as one who has been, my first degree was in history, the need for original sources, oral history, is very, very important, you know. So it may not have a direct bearing on my survey, It can be directly or indirectly, but these are interviews that I think are very important. So I think I miss, for example, Tumenggung juga. You know, I did not interview him. You know, I did not interview my Fuad Stephen when he converted to Islam, to Muslim. I did not interview him. Yeah? So I said, why don't I start recording them? So I had access to Tun M. He agreed. I had a 4 session with him, 4-hour session. Yeah. I had an interview with Tun Taib Mahmood. Yeah. I think 4 times with him to know how he began his career as a politician, have Ketua Menteri, so something that nobody has known about that. Coming from him himself. I interviewed Tan Sri Afrik Jabu. I interviewed Tengku Razali. Many other political personalities. I'm keeping them in the archive. And besides those personalities, I also interviewed the tokoh-tokoh wartawan. With my colleagues in UKM, we interviewed Pak Saku, Pak Samad, yeah, and I interviewed Raja Arbi, Zainuddin Maidin, Johan Jaafar. These are people that we need to know what happened in their career on journalism. Now they are not here, but what they said are very, very important. Yeah. So I managed when I was a rector, I told Syed Salim, the librarian, to interview Tun M, to interview to others who were involved in the establishment of IIUM. And we continued that.
Yeah. So even without, the main objective of recording those interviews was to give researchers an opportunity to examine them so that they can come out with publications and so forth. So you had a proactive approach to the whole idea, the whole notion of covering or researching on the...
Even like videos, when we shot them in 1986, in 1986 we shot them by election Ampang Jaya. Now you go back to Ampang Jaya, some of the houses you don't see, you know. Some of the clothes you don't see anymore. Yeah? So the study of these early videos mean a lot. The changing political landscape, the changing social landscape, the changing fashions. I could envisage how Lim Kek Siang spoke in 1986, in 1990, 91. And the last we saw him was in Sri Kembangan. Yeah? The style of Lim Kek Siang talking, it doesn't change. Talking. So you can see when we recorded speakers way back in 1986, 1990, even like Ibrahim Ali who spoke, we interviewed him. These are historical moments recorded.
So because of your history background that contributed.
My interest in Bernama at that time.
Right. Yeah. So it seems that your background influences you a lot in terms of what you do, isn't it?
Yeah. I think maybe unconsciously, I would agree with that.
What sort of challenges did you face when you conducted your research in UKM?
UKM and IIUM. UKM, I think because of funding. Funding. We were making ourselves known. Yeah. I would credit to other projects they obtained in the IIUM because I built my expertise in UKM. You know, so whatever funding that we had, so people began to recognize your expertise. That is very, very important. So as a researcher, you have to have the expertise. You have to have people to recognize your expertise. You can have the expertise, but you're not recognized. Or you're recognized, but you're not recognized for your expertise. That also is bad. Yeah. So at IIUM, I think just to build up. But I give credit to UKM for the great support the administrative support. So when I was going around doing with the videos, recording the videos, UKM was very helpful. They gave us a minibus, so I could bring in the video. The videos that time was very big. You know, I could bring in Swami plus the cameraman plus the lightman. They paid for my hotel. They paid for my accommodation. They paid for everything. UKM paid for all that, and we could able to move because of that. You know, I don't know because I was for more pendaftar or at that time I think all public universities had money. And I think we spent wisely on that. So I think the biggest challenge then was the building the expertise. The push towards research was not as strong as the present time. But the need or the feeling for research was there. You know, I was telling as pendaftar, we incorporated the criteria, among the criteria was the need to do research. So there was already a need for you to do research. There was research fundings only for you because we were young at the time. You know, UKM 1970, we started in I came in 71, 70. So by 1980, how many years? 10 years experience, no? So public universities were very, very new. So building up our expertise and whatnot, I think we must give credit.
Yeah. So you had the support from UKM, and they were very research oriented since the beginning.
Since the beginning, on reflection, I was a bit surprised because when UKM, you said you know guna bahasa kebangsaan, guna bahasa Melayu and whatnot. So the language, correspondence, research, teaching was in Malay. But the outlook to me was a bit wide, you know. So we were doing research, we were doing conferences, which was not inward looking. And I remember when I was in charge of media at the time. So when we started off with the medical faculty, so the Vice Chancellor said, ini kita akan lahir graduate medical yang berkhidmat di kampung. The student protested. So no, this is not kampung. It's for the whole country. That I think is good. And so I think the whole view was global. The whole global, but the language used was called Bahasa Melayu. Even in science, even in medicine, we were using Bahasa. But the feeling to do research, the feeling that we are part of university worldwide was already there.
So there was this combination of the local language, but the global outlook.
Global outlook was there,
in terms of research, which helped UKM
a
lot.
I could see the research university status was planned long time ago. The seed, you know, the organic growth of a university to be a research university is not something new. It must grow. You need to be organically growing. You cannot artificially impose a university to be a research university.
So what about the IIUM? What sort of challenges did you face when you then went to the IIUM?
IIUM is a beautiful campus. Well, different from UKM and the other public universities in terms of architecture, in terms of its orientation. But somehow or other, when I came in, I could sense that it is more emphasizing on teaching. So when I, Dean of RMC, that was the first thing I felt, you know, that this is a university but slightly different from UKM. And I felt more when I was the director. You know, I felt more as a rector because the culture was different. It is a teaching-based university that need to be oriented to a research-based university. Yeah. So when, as a dean of research center, I managed to get. I went to see Dato Hassan Syed. I said, I need 1 million to start off. You know, and Hassan Syed gave me 1 million, and he said you must spend it within 1 year. And I remember Dato Zalan, I said, hey, 1 million, how many years you want to spend? I said, 1 year. He said, no, 1 million you can spend 3 or 4 years. I said, no, give me 1 year, I'll spend. Alhamdulillah, I spent 1 year. And I went to see Hassan Syed. I said, I want another 2 million. And how long you say? I said, 2 million, give me 3 years. I spent it. So that, I think, gave, I don't know whether, but I think the RMC started off with that. That we not only need to orientate our outlook, that we need to move from a teaching-based university to a research-based university. Yeah, and thankful because we had Topa at the time, Mustafa Muhammad. He was also deep into that. He was deep into that universities should emphasize on research. So that was something good. And our president at the time, Tan Sri Hassan, was also supportive that we should move to be a research-based university. So, but there is on the macro level, on the individual level, I faced another difficult because I was also doing research as dean, as rector. I was doing research, yeah? And I was getting research grants and I was doing research. But when I was a rector, I think there was more demanding. Because as a rector, not only the administrative and all the demands of a rector, I was also teaching one course, postgraduate course. And I was supervising one PhD. Yeah, I was attending seminars. And I was doing research. So I had to see, I could only see my research assistant, Azrul and Tini, after office hours. And that could be around 5:30, 6 o'clock, or sometimes after Maghrib. Because I don't want to interfere with official duty and my research. I mean, it's very clear to them. Yeah, that time was very challenging because my teaching is one thing, my research, my supervision, is another. My conference is another. But on the whole, I think challenging, but very, very good.
So although you had a lot of administrative duties as rector, you still kept on doing research and all the other academic works. Why did you do that?
Okay, since I got the funding, I got the funding. So to reject will be something that risky. And this is something that was given to me, And but then I think when I joined UKM, the expertise was there, and the funding came from Patla himself. He said, Syed, can you do this research for me or not? I mean, how can I tell the Prime Minister, cannot lah, So I said, yes, I'll do that. I'll try my best. And I started doing that. So when the clients realize that you're able to do that, then they come and see you. And you'll be surprised, I think, Tini Ubega, I don't have any research proposal. they called me and said, we want you to do this research. Can you do it? I said, yes. How fast? So I said, okay, do it. Yeah, and another one which people don't realize, besides the secretarial support, Tini, Fiza, Zul, Azrul, yeah. You see, when we do these surveys, we have our supervisors in the various states. We also have enumerators. Yeah, they have been with me for more than 10 years. Yeah, and these are the people who helped me a lot. Yeah, I do it. If you want to do research projects, you must take care of the secretary staff. You must take care of the people on the ground. You have to trust them, and they have to trust you. I think that's my feeling. And on the ground, I also train them. I send them to short courses for them to upgrade themselves. And on the ground, I see them. They have my full trust. And I paid them well. I paid them on time. You know, during the COVID, when the whole world stopped doing face-to-face, we were one of the few what I call organization entities that conducted face-to-face. You know, I checked with my friends in WAPO, World Association of Public Opinion. A lot of them abandoned face-to-face because of COVID. They did not go out on to interview the respondents. You know, so in October, when my client said, Prof. Syed, we need a study, can you do it? So I told them, I got to ask people on the ground, are they willing to go or not? You know, so I asked my enumerators, my supervisors. They say, okay, give us a try. So instead of 1,000 something, I took only 867 respondents. Yeah, in October. And we managed to do it. And they were willing to do it. Face to face. So because they were willing to do it, and the results were good, we continued to do face to face from then onwards, October 2020 until today. Face to face. And also, the good thing during the online, during the face to face, during the COVID, was the first time when we tried online, you know. So, online survey. Online survey was when emergency was declared in March. In March, we still came to office. I came to office in April. Fiza and Tini came to office in April. And Fiza said, why don't we try online? So I said, okay, let's try online. So it was the first time we tried an online survey. And we continued to do 4 online surveys in addition to face-to-face. So we not only have a good idea of people's response to COVID, the government's policy on COVID, but we also, face-to-face, we also have an understanding of the political climate.
And how was it different doing online? I mean, the return rate, you know, mail surveys have a very poor, isn't it, return rate usually. This is online survey. Was it okay? Was it good?
Okay, mail, postal survey was bad. I only used postal survey during when I was conducting the PR, because I knew a lot of them. That was in 1997, 1977. But that was second time. Others we were not using mail survey, but online survey. So we did one paper on the differences in our findings. Online survey and face-to-face. Definitely there were differences in the findings. online survey, it cannot be random because we were not able to choose our respondents, randomly. Face to face, we're able to do that randomly, But online, we managed. In fact, when we wrote there, the online is not random, but we managed to get findings that are quite relevant. Some of the findings, when we compare to the question we asked face to face, we get more or less similar answers. Only when we were asking on political questions were there differences between face to face and online.
Right. That's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So I could see my friends in Wapo also. Now, because of face to face is very expensive, and also because of COVID had a very strong effect, they are now using online, but they are now using mixed method. A lot of them doing mixed method now.
To provide deeper insight and
Deeper insight,
credibility.
more valid, more valid response, more reliability.
I see. So it's changed, isn't it? COVID has changed somehow.
COVID has changed a lot.
Right.
You know, during the time of COVID, for the first time, the entire world asked one issue, COVID. For I think nearly 6 months or 7 months, nothing else but COVID. So the whole world stood still because of COVID.
So that's a very interesting, isn't it, phenomenon. What about managing research? This is the second part of the interview. And your duties in managing research projects, your own project, your projects for others as the Dean of RMC, the Rector. How did you manage your own research projects in terms of teamwork and your own team and so forth?
See, when I began UKM, when I got the first grant from Osman Syed, we had our staff, academic staff together, so managing them, but it was quite easy because they were all on the same staff, we were together, we were groping in the dark, discussing about research method, whatnot. But later on, when I started on my own, because some drop out because they're not interested in election studies, so I had to bring in others. Now managing comes in when we had to get enumerators, slowly people to manage that. So I would divide managing research on various platforms. So managing research based on your own project. So you bring in your friends, you bring in your teammates, and how do you get them to come together, And when I developed my research projects on these election studies, managing means something else. Managing the secretarial staff, managing the supervisors, managing the enumerators. So, and when I, from UKM, IIUM, I realized that election studies is not the normal academic study anymore. Because at the end of every election, what your findings are now being tested during election time. If you say this party would win, they want to know whether the party won or not.
Right. They want to see whether what you predicted
Yes.
actually
Pretty
came
much.
out like that.
So when we did for example, Sarawak, 4 times. So we predicted that one party would win, and it won by, I think, by 0.4%. We were in error by 0.4%. We were correct. And on all elections so far, we've been there correct. So during study election, I think all the polling, even my friend in Merdeka Center, in Ilham, I think we are always concerned about that. At the end of every election, our methodology will be tested. And that goes for Gallup poll, Pew, and everything. That is a scary part of it. That is a scary part. And based because we are not really professionals and our funding are limited, I think that makes us very, very worried that we need to do the best.
Right. But so far it's worked out.
So far, Alhamdulillah, has worked on, yeah. And you see, my approach, so far, my approach has been not polling per se, but a survey-oriented polling, you know. So I built in survey research, a theoretical perspective into that, you know. So I'm also grateful to the sponsors who said, okay, we like you to do research. We want you to tell us about these things. Yeah. Beyond that, we are not interested. So I'm interested. I say if I'm interested in agenda setting or in third person effect, they say so long as it doesn't affect what we ask you to do, it's okay. That one I'm thankful. Yeah. So I've been able to build up my theoretical base.
So there's the academic value.
Yeah. That's why I've managed to able to do diffusion of news, agenda setting, and various like third person effect, all through it because of that.
Because the sponsors allow you.
Yeah, that is a good thing about our Malaysian sponsors. Yeah, it's okay with that.
If not, then, you know, it'll be different research.
There's that. No, I think I would give my
Right. Well, that's very useful, isn't it? Yeah. Also, you could develop agenda setting in over different research studies.
That's right.
Yeah, which is of course very useful in terms of academic
The
value.
other part was when I got this project, not in my really in my field, but in the area that I was interested. So I managed to get a team. Yeah. So Tuan M wanted to study on Kuala Lumpur. You know. So I had Kuala Lumpur is a big thing. It nothing with politics. So surprisingly, nothing to do with politics. Nothing to know about KL, effect moving to Putrajaya, you know, the buildings. So I managed to get people from KAID. I managed to get from education. I managed to get from political science. I managed to get from sociology. I managed to get from our com. 10 academics from different fields to come together to do research on that. Managing them is a bit difficult, but pleasant, because everybody came with a common objective. Yeah. Another one with managing is doing research with ISIS and MASTIC. Managing that, you know, conducting research, how you manage to do that for ISIS and MASTIC. Nothing to do with elections. This is something that I find managing. So you as a manager, you cannot say, oh, this is not in my line of research, I cannot do it. You have to say, yes, I'm able to do it and do it. Yeah. Now, managing the research means another thing, very, very important. People recognize your ability your expertise, your ability to manage. And another thing which is very, very clear is you must meet the deadline. You must meet the deadline. You cannot delay by one day. Cannot delay by one day. If you say, I will deliver it on the 12th of October, 12th October you deliver. Or earlier. You cannot say, 13, no? Cannot. So far, 100% has been there.
I see.
Has been there.
Right, meeting the deadline,
Means the deadline.
which is another challenge, isn't it?
Which is a big
So,
challenge. Yeah.
so how do you do that? You make sure everything's done earlier.
Earlier, you must. First thing you do is talk to your secretary staff first. I tell them, I have this project. Are you able to do it or not? And then we discuss at time. You know, the secretary staff will then talk to the enumerators. They must talk to the supervisors. They must clear their time, the timetable. So everybody will move in one direction. That is very, very important. So you say, I must go on the field, I must complete my questionnaire by this date, I must go down on the field, I must key in my data, I must analyze my data, I must do the PowerPoints, I must do presentation, I must blah, 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 blah. 10 October, yes. No one day delay.
Yeah, no one day delay. Okay. So, what about as the former dean of RMC in the IIUM? How did you encourage the academic staff to be interested in research and get research grants, since the IIUM was a teaching university?
Yeah, first is to not so much dean, because I don't have control over the entire university. But we need to be interested in research. I think that was very clear to me. Yeah? To be interested in research. So we participated in the exhibition, yeah, where all other universities were exhibiting their research. We went in. Whatever research exhibit we went in to show that we are bent on doing research. Yeah. And then not only I got grant from Hassan Syed. Thank you very much, Dato Hassan. We built these research clusters. We have about 10 to 15 also research clusters where we were to get researchers, train them to get from other disciplines to join in. Then we build, because I need to build bottoms up. So they express an interest in one research area. You get the people who are interested with you, and then we give you some funding to create the interest. Yeah. Third is to have short courses in terms of methodology. Yeah. I remember Nolide, he came to see me and say, I'm interested in rash measurement. Rash measurement. And as dean, I don't know what is a rash, But she came in and persuaded me and said, okay. Because she had a friend from Australia who's expert in rash. So he said, can you pay for his fare? So calculating from the dean, from RMC, so we managed to get. So we brought him here. He started, I think, a few-day course in rash measurement. I was trying to build an expertise. So Sahari came in, Nulide came in, I think a few others came in. That was a nucleus to build a statistics type of not center, but a unit that people can refer to. Yeah, and I was doing these short courses so that we begin to create an interest among academics in IIUM. Yeah. And of course, we thank to Faris, I think, persuaded us to go to Geneva, I think. We participated in these exhibitions, to show what we could do. There was a start where we started going overseas. We started going to show what research activities that we had.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was important.
That to me was very, very important. Yeah. And when I became rector again, then we put in part of your promotion was that research, publications, and whatnot. And then we realized that if we want to promote research, it cannot be in isolation. Right. It cannot be isolated. You had to build your postgraduate center. Right. Your CPS must be centered. You must fight for grants. Right. So the whole the culture must change. Yes. Your culture must change. That and it must go along also with publications. Right. So if everything goes well, then I think we can be able, as we are now, moving to do research.
Yes. So, I mean, moving from a teaching university to having a research culture in the IIUM must have been difficult as the rector of the IIUM. How, other than promoting and before that, creating clusters, getting funding in, upgrading people's skills, what else did you do?
I had dialogue with every kuliah. I think quite often, at least once a year, but sometimes twice a year. I also call the professors. I also had dialogue with associate professors. I also call the young lecturers. I also meet with the management course. So we dialogue. Of course, on reflection, I think it's quite a challenge to change a culture. Right. It's a challenge.
Right, is that the end of the recording? Yes. If that is the end of the recording, thank you, Professor Dato Sri Dr. Syed Arabi, for the insightful sharing session on your research activities. Now, Prof is here to answer questions. We will now open for the question and answer session. You can type your question in the Zoom chat box, and there's also the YouTube chat box, or you can ask a question by unmuting your mic. Yes, Tan Sri, you can start. Tan Sri, you have
Tan Sri is muted.
Okay. Sorry, I have to run after this for another MOU, but I would like just to congratulate Dato Sri for his, my God, wide experience of demonstrating what an academic should be. I really am envious that he has the whole spectrum of not just doing research, but interacting, documenting, predicting, and also, making the whole study relevant to the situation he was in, and indeed I think will continue to be relevant now if you look at the perspective. I think this is what academia is all about, and I'm not too sure whether we still have got it with us. I think some of us has lost it. We have become very sedentary in the sense that we stayed in our rooms. We were quite happy with our ambient. The world outside is no more as fascinating as it is as compared to what Dato Sri is looking back. So I hope the statement, or at least from my point of view, the takeaway that we have today from Dato Sri in very real terms, how do we become relevant in our environment, having the knowledge that we have got, and how do we actually contribute very, very specifically as to what is required to make not only us in the university better, but the community as a whole. Dato Sri, thank you very much. I think your videos are quote unquote precious. You say UKM is having it, yeah? IIUM doesn't have anything of that resemblance, ka?
No, no, what? Those which I deposited in UKM were those videos that I collected when I was in UKM.
Okay.
There were other videos that I collected when I was in IIUM.
Yeah.
Those were being deposited in our library.
Okay. I mean,
and also deposited in our archives. So
yeah.
I'm very mindful of that. Yeah.
Yes.
And thank you very much for your words of
I'm
encouragement.
I'm very happy to see Arwah Dato Harun Idris. I mean, that was the time when I was a student, you know. So these pictures means 1,000 things for us. And I don't know how we can use this, Dato Sri, to be part and parcel of the 40th anniversary punya documentation. Otherwise, nobody, if you didn't speak today, I didn't know anything about this. Now that I know, how do we then take it out and make it part and parcel of the jewels of the 40th anniversary? I need to work on Harmi on this. What are the things that you think it is important for us to keep so that the younger generation will begin to understand what has happened during your lifetime? Yeah. So I need to go. Thank you very much.
Very much. Yeah.
Ask Dato Sri many questions so that we can get back to where he was and continue his journey moving forward. So terima kasih banyak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Tan Sri,
Pleasure.
for the lovely words. Of course, Prof. Syed Arabi has been my colleague for a very long time, and I know he's a very disciplined, determined person, very good at research, and very loves to share his achievements with us and inspire us, of course, which is lovely. Now, Dr. Penki wanted to say something, right?
Oh, Penki, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Aida. Thanks a lot. Congratulations, Prof. Dato Sri. And actually, I didn't raise my hand, even though in my heart I have something to say. I just want to congratulate my Sifu, Prof. Syed. The time I ended my class earlier, I just want to come in and listen to what that you're sharing and which I have learned from you for 30 over years, since way back in 1989. And I remember I worked as your research assistant in 1990 for the general election. That was 1990. So yeah, I just want to add on with 3 words that just now that we talk about, not just only relevant, but I think you are the man who has actually make it as a reference point. I think that you are actually referred. You are always being referred by other people. And that's how that I would say that you are the most respected person in this political communication. And for anyone who are actually doing that knowing you. So that's why that you gain these 3 R. Relevant, referred, and also respected person. Congratulations, man. And I will learn more from you from time to time. And I think that I don't have much question to ask. I think that maybe if question also I will ask privately. So I'm sure that we have many friends over here that would like to ask our respected Sifu here. So I pass it back to you, Dr. Aida. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Penki. Okay, are there any questions or comments you'd like to make? Any comments you'd like to share with Prof. Syed? I know that in the chat box, we have Madam Zurina Abdul Ghani saying that she has learned a lot from Prof. Syed Arabi. Hats off to you, Prof. Yeah, one of my Sifus, Alhamdulillah. Yeah, and congratulations, Prof. Dato Sri Syed Arabi as well. And thank you for your sharing session. It was very insightful. I agree with that. Now, are there any questions? Yeah, any questions you'd like to ask? This is the chance for you to ask.
Yeah, Dr. Aida, if you don't mind, I think that all our friends are a bit shy. I think that as a naughty student of Prof. Syed, that I think that he knows, I always have questions in class. So
Okay.
today, I think that I'm actually making not the challenge, but I just would like to seek some advice from Prof. I think that we know we have been talking about the content analysis when the time that I have done this newspaper content analysis, and we face so much challenge towards the end. I think that younger generation that they don't read all those hard copy, and now have moved on to the electronic form. And even just now that you mentioned also survey, the poster survey, and also face-to-face are kind of, I call it like kind of obsolete. So actually a lot moving to online. So how you foresee this research environment with the so-called the digital age? Perhaps that you can enlighten us for us to prepare for the future.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think COVID and this digital has these two factors have caused a lot of changes. Not only in the concept that we use, but in the conceptualization of the concepts. At one time when we talk about space, we mean something else, but now space means something else. Space has no time barrier now. Last time space had a time barrier. So these are the new concepts that we have to think about, or even if we have a concept, we have to think about new conceptualizations. So when we think about these concepts, we also have to think about the methods, the methodology that we use. I did instance just now that because of COVID, we were forced to go online. Yeah, and when we went online, the idea of randomization came into being. How do we get the population to be valid? Yeah, so we have to think that we cannot rely only on one methodology.
Yeah.
So the mixed methods came in. Mixed methods come in to answer the same questions. And I think I was with WAPO webinar a few weeks ago. They are now expanding beyond that. Beyond that, which areas I think they are now exploring. Yeah? So I think as academics, we should be aware of those dramatic changes that are happening in our academic landscape. So not only in terms of methodology, I think in terms of theory, we have to seriously think. Yeah? And my advice is not only in terms of communication or in the social sciences, we have to think all over again in all our disciplines that this is a new era which requires us to think seriously of our own discipline, whether the population at large is still accepting us and the research that we do are still valid. I think a very good point you raised, Penki. Right.
Thank you very much, Tuan. And giving me some pointer for me to write for this Sunday article.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks once again to Dr. Penki and Professor Arabi for answering and the question and of course giving tips. Now, Prof. Ahmad Hafiz Zulkifli has asked this question in the chat box: how to maintain self-motivation, Prof. Syed? Challenges, how do you overcome them? How do you overcome challenges?
I think you must let your interests govern you. If you are interested in one particular area, I think you go. You will continue to develop those areas. And I hope you will not have only one small area. So you have to let your area also grow. If your interest governs you and you allow your area to expand, I think you'll be able to have a better perspective. So when you expand your area, you find that you need to bring others into your fold, or you might like to go to another area which answers your interest. You know? Like I give an instance just now. I was doing PR, and then I realized that news division. And then when I developed further, it went to public opinion, electoral studies. In fact, I didn't mention about well-being, trust, etc. And the last few years, I was wondering whether my interest was really that wide that I had no control, or I was consciously going into those fields with a kind of a foundation. And I realized that there was a foundation, and that foundation was effects, media effects. Yeah? Suddenly I realized that all those things that I was doing in a very diversified way was only to answer one question: were communication effective? Yeah? But I had to go on a very, very, very wide field, diversified field, to answer that fundamental question. Yeah, and the other thing, like Tanzir Zo was saying, that I interviewed people. Those, I think, basically because of my push in history, in oral history. Yeah, so I said, while doing all this work on electoral studies, on news division, I said, why don't I do something that would be of benefit also to the future generation? Yeah, so I had these interviews which I conducted, and I didn't mention that when I was in UKM, I managed to interview the former vice chancellors, vice chancellor number 1, vice chancellor number 2, all the deans. I interviewed them on my day. I interviewed Alayaram Arundin, my good friend, see, and I kept that in the library. And the library staff did not know at all that those tapes were deposited in UKM library until 10 years ago. When I went to see them, I said, can I have access to these tapes? And they started searching. And they said, oh, these are the tapes that you did. You interviewed Dr. Arifin Mazuki, you interviewed Tan Sri Jalil, you interviewed Arundin, and they were not aware. Yeah. And I also interviewed people in IIUM, which I think IIUM staff are not aware. And these are kept in the library, and still some of them are still kept with me. So there are things that you do, I think, will only be made known later in life. But please, if you're interested, please, Prof. Zul, for Hafiz, go ahead and do it. Yeah, go ahead and do it. And I think later on, you will be rewarded somehow, somewhere.
Thank you, Prof. I'm just curious, when you interview these vice chancellors and so forth, I mean, what kind of questions did you ask them? Were you interested in their experiences, or, you know, their research activities, or what was it that you were interested in?
Okay, when I interviewed Tan Sri Rashdan, the Arifin Mazuki, Tan Sri Rashdan was the first VC. The Arifin Mazuki was the second. I only asked them in relationship to the history of UKM. So I asked Tan Sri Rashdan, how do you get involved in UKM? Yeah. What are the challenges you face? Dr. Arifin Mazuki was supposed to be my boss. Both of them were my bosses. Arifin Mazuki, why were you appointed as vice chancellor? You didn't have a language command. But he said I was appointed because I was a medical man, and Tun Razak wanted someone to start off with the medical faculty. Yeah. And Harundin, I get asked him about, how did you get involved in the Islamic faculty and whatnot. So again, I realized that, hey, why did I just stop? I could go on and on. So I interviewed Dr. Amira Abbas, the first dean
of the medical faculty. Yeah, I asked him, how did you come in as the first dean? Yeah. So I continued, I out of sheer interest. I had Swami, I got a tape, I got a camera, so I did the interview. That was that. So what was the question asked? Those are questions that were relevant to UKM. As much as I interviewed in IIUM, not only the historical figures, I also asked the employees of IIUM. The last one I interviewed was Khatijah, security, the first woman that we recruited as an employee. Yeah. And so, well, Professor Zailan, Dato Zailan, for example. Yeah. Those who interviewed out of sheer interest. And the interview with Dato Zailan is still with me. I think the library doesn't know, all others, but I thought out of sheer interest, I should interview. And I hinted to the library, please interview Professor Tahir. And I think Dr. Aida Mota interviewed Professor Tahir, the first dean of the medical faculty. So we need this to be stored in our archives or in our library.
Yes, Prof. Very interesting, and the fact that you're so interested in how people, about people's lives and their contribution to UKM and their life in UKM and so forth, and the IIUM as well. Very interesting. Thank you so much. Are there any more questions? Yeah, any more questions from anyone? This is your last chance to ask. Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay.
I thought I would ask one more question to the three. Kadang-kadang dia tak jumpa. Apa ni in this world that is now filled with fake news, half truth, and the many things now with ChatGPT and stuff like that. How does this affect the response of the people that you interview? What are the considerations that you think would make a difference? For example, the amount of information that I've been bombarded now is a lot more than the kind of information that I would be bombarded maybe 10 years ago, or even lesser than that. And some of the information is very tricky and very difficult to assess. And so when you ask me this question, all these things becomes uncertain, and how would you then evaluate my response, whether I'm genuine ataupun I'm just using this information the way that I should not be using it. I mean, I'm trying to see how, in other words, how valid would be this kind of methodology that you used then when you put it in this situation now.
Yeah, I think that's very, I would say, very serious question. I'm still a traditional methodology. I still value face-to-face. Because when I interview face-to-face, I can see you, I can see the respondents, I can see the non-verbal behavior, I can be able to assess the answers. Online, I fear that somebody else might answer on your behalf. So far, we have been always going on face-to-face. So we're able to assess the legitimacy, we call it, of the answers given. So Alhamdulillah, that's what we have been done so far. And it helps us when we go again, when we have personal interviews. Then we can see the person in front of us and say, can you tell me what is your thinking about this particular issue? And I want to tape it. I want to record it because I'm an academician. I don't belong to any political party, and I like to record your views so that I can have a meaningful assessment of the situation. So far, that has been the case. I'm fearful, like you are, Tan Sri, that with this ChatGPT and whatnot, with AI being developed to such an extent that you're not sure that the voice you hear is the voice that you think you should be hearing from. You might hear from me and say, I think it's the voice of Syed Arabi, but it's not Syed Arabi anymore, because you don't see him in person. That is, I think, a genuine fear, which a lot of people have now been expressing that we might be misled, or information might be misled, and it's going to be very serious, not only in terms of general exposure, but in terms of our delivery to our students, in terms of our students' assignment they are given to us. We are not sure whether the students are giving us their assignment or they're giving us their AI-created assignments. And we are giving them marks for which they are not supposed to be given. That, I think, is something that we need to be fearful of.
Aida, one more last question.
Yeah.
Sure. Tan Sri, go ahead.
This one, very, very pressing one. How long does it take Tan Sri, Dato Sri to come up to a level of a Gallup polls? Can we develop that? I mean, there's so many of these now. Merdeka is something. Can Malaysia evolve into something that we become, quote unquote, the quoted sort of opinion assessor, whatever you want to call it? How long does it take to develop that kind of? Because I think people who evaluate opinions now will be the maker for the future, because they are the one who actually put things into perspective.
It will take some time. I would think. I could have developed on my own. I could have gone commercial. But somehow this academic delight has constrained me and put me back into the campus. But my friend Safian from the Merdeka Center, he started off when, I think, about way back in 1970 or 80. So he went to commercial, but it took him how many years? 10, 15 years to develop. Yeah. It took him that long. Now he has built up the credibility and whatnot. I would build up, because I went sabbatical leave. I spent sabbatical leave with Maury in London. So I was spent time with Sir Robert Worcester himself, and he was willing. So he taught me how to do the sampling, how to ask questions and whatnot. So when I came back from Maury, Marketing Opinion Research International from UK, I could have the choice of setting up my own company and align it with Maury, but somehow or other I stayed on with UKM. So I think in my personal life, I had a choice whether to move out or to move in, but I chose to move in. But my friend Safia developed on with the Medical Center. So for you to answer, for me to answer your question, Tansi, is you need not only to have the expertise, but you need to have the resources. Gallup Poll had the resources. They started way back in 1939, for example. And they had the resources to build up. And I think the third one is the general public must be willing to help them. Must be able to say that, okay, you give us this question and that we are not popular. Okay, we take note that we are unpopular. We will do something to make ourselves popular. Not like at the present moment. The moment you say this political party is not popular, they will say your methodology is wrong. Well, if you say you are popular, they say, yeah, your methodology is the best. You know, I think our response to this public opinion polling need to be well tuned, that we will be able to accept negative results. We take it positively. We then overcome those negative findings. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tan Sri. So thank you so much, Prof, for answering the question and for again sharing with us your insight. Now, I suppose there are no more questions from anyone. Yeah. Okay, so with this, we come to the end of the session. May Allah continue to provide us with His guidance and protection. Thank you again, everyone, for joining the session. We end with Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-As. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aida.
No problem, Prof. Glad to help. Are we going to have a group photo or something? No?
Virtual photo. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Aida.
Okay.